Dankeschön.
Welcome to the stage. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to be here. Wie geht es dir? Gut? Alles gut? Meine Schatzi? I bet when I walk out you're thinking, she's not bad for 50. And I bet you're also thinking, which leg is it? It's this one. Perfectly functional. The bizarre thing is that my mother lost her leg at the same age as me. She was in a car crash with my father, and it was hanging off, and they reattached it. And you would think that was good. But actually, 90% of the time, when your leg is injured that badly, it's better just to amputate it, especially now. But in those days, we didn't have very good prosthetics. So when I lost mine, after working in the war in the former Yugoslavia, this is why I do extreme sport, because you can't be worried about if you're going to hurt yourself skiing, or if you're going to fall over rollerblading, or break your neck jumping off a ski jump. You have to actually just go for it in life, because it's all destined. And you get a few paths that you choose to go down, and some of them are roller coaster, and the other are straight. And you have to decide, what kind of person are you? Are you a soldier that's brilliantly led and part of a brilliant team? Or are you a leader? And usually when we do the Q&As at the end of these speeches, the quiet ones either have to get some balls and ask some questions, or they have to know that they are part of the soldiers. They're too shy, but they are an essential part of the team. So never underestimate who you are and how important you are when working with a team. They do these videos on me. Yes, it's great, but I wouldn't be able to do any of that without my support of the love from my friends and family. I wouldn't be able to do any of my businesses without the support of my team. However, all teams need a kick up the bum. Usually with the right leg, it's a bit softer. But you know, I've got a crazy life. I'm allowed 20 minutes. This is the fastest speech that I will do in my life. So I'll try and sprechen Sie langsam, aber clear. So, quick story. Each one of you in here will relate to one part of this quick story that you will go through in your life, whether it's positive, negative, overcoming adversity. First, my mother left when I was 9. She disappeared, left my father, didn't see her for 4 years. My father thought he was a reincarnation of Richard Wagner, the opera composer. So we were made to work audiovisual presentations of The Ring of the Nibelung every night. He was a bit crazy, and he borrowed a lot of money. He didn't pay it back because Wagner wasn't so popular in England. And he went to prison. And he was in prison for 2 years. My mother reappeared, or maybe she was dragged by the social workers, and she took care of us. She was with a new man. Now, my father was very aggressive. He used to throw my mother through the window and really bad things. But she went to another man who she thought was better, who was mentally abusive. Sometimes that's actually worse. So for all the people here, men and women, in an abusive relationship, or you're questioning that you've done something wrong all the time, get out of it. You could be dead tomorrow, like I've been nearly 5 times. Get out of the relationship, get out of the situation. Don't stay in something just because you put a wedding ring on. That's an old, controlled religious thing as far as I'm concerned. If you love somebody, you're with them. You sign a document, the government tells you how to get out of it. So just be careful, that's one bit of advice. And then, when my mother came back, she didn't, you know, her new boyfriend had been married 3 times before, didn't like children. So I wasn't the best person to have around. So I left, and I went to sleep rough in the streets of London. And I would always steal food from the supermarkets. And then eventually I got a job. I used to get 10 pence and shower in the Victoria stations and wake up sometimes with people urinating near my head. So the good thing about my life is when you've been on the bottom, the only way is up. So if you get in your head now, what is the worst lifestyle you can have? And what I do is I have my camper van. That's my investment plan. It has a kitchen in it. I can fit my skis in it. I can wash at the gym. and I can park at the bottom of a mountain and go in. I don't really like people, I like animals. So I would work in the nighttime in the Bille or the Spa or the Mercure or Hofer, and I would stack the shelves, and I would have peace, have my money, and go skiing in the day. So that's my plan. When you have a plan like this, you are afraid of nothing. So you can rise up and live any lifestyle you want. I like both extremes. When I'm really tired, I like nice sheets. When I feel good, I like to go camping in the mountains all the time. So just work a plan in your head. What lifestyle do you want, and why are you trying to achieve it? Is it for you, or is it for the people of how you look and what you have? Because I'm telling you, once you get the big house, once you get the fast car, all the shit comes. You don't know who wants you for what. You have extra payments on the car. You have to look after the house so much you can't enjoy it. So I'm just telling you, fast forward to my age, 50 years now. That's what happens. After my mum had left and I met her again, she went into hospital to do an operation with her leg, and it went wrong. They gave her heparin, which thins the blood. Then they forgot, and she died. 2 weeks before she died, she said she wanted to leave the abusive man and go. So I had been working for a long time to get the money for her to leave, and I was nearly there, and then she died. So I started the first business, and it was stick-on bras. I had very big breasts like Dolly Parton, which are not very comfortable when you like sport, especially if you want to go in this position. Men complain about these, but trust me, these are more difficult. And so I wanted to wear a dress with a low back and something that didn't wobble around all the time. So I found these fantastic stick-on bras. It was called Jolly Bust, and I was only 15. So I wrote a letter. I did learn some things from my father. And I pretended I was a business from England to America and asked for samples. So they sent the samples, and I started to sell them at the doors, knocking on the doors. Some women were not so happy. They had hairs on the nipples, so when they pulled them off, but I said, yeah, it's 2-in-1. It's a free wax. It's a free wax. And anyway, so I sold these. Eventually, I made it into a big business. Then I was asked by a department store chain in England to buy the franchise. I didn't know what a franchise was. I was only 15 and a half years old. I didn't have a bank account. I had to keep asking my mother to help me. And so I went away, I researched a franchise, then I went back, I sold the franchise that I didn't have while I asked America, could I have the solo franchise? You know, business is a lot of bullshit when you're in the beginning, but as long as it's honest bullshit and you really will do what you say, you have to learn to bullshit a little bit. And bullshit is about being a little bit confident, and that bullshit turns into reality. It's about selling. As long as you're not going to hurt somebody or harm a situation, you can bullshit a lot, so don't worry about that. Too much honesty doesn't always get you the right way, except in a personal relationship. But in business, it's a lot of bullshit. So then I sold this business for £250,000 when I was nearly 17. And then I did the next business, was a model agency, because I was asked to model. I never wanted to be a model, but my boyfriend sent a picture to the newspaper, and I got a phone call, you're in the competition of the Model of the Year. I never went in a competition. And they said, yeah, you're in the final. So then I looked up what is modeling about, blah, blah, blah. I can travel the world for free and get more business to England. So instead of sitting, smoking a cigarette and drinking coffee like all the models around, I would be on the phone making business, sending things back, import, export, and using the free flights at the Flughafen all around the world. So I built the business up, and then I had a model agency. Then I decided to get married. And I thought I was a grown-up woman. I'd experienced a lot in life. And I got married, and I decided to try and have children, but I kept losing them. I lost 6, 4, and then I had 1 ectopic in each tube. They told me, you can never have children. And of course, I was very sad. And then I went to become a ski instructor in then Yugoslavia, in Slovenia. Then the war broke out. Then I fell in love with a ski instructor, as you do. And always, everybody does. And then I went back to England when the war broke out. I took all my friends back from Slovenia and Serbia and Croatia because they were best friends, ski instructors, but the families did not want them to stay together. And then I set up a refugee center, mainly in my house. Everybody was sleeping everywhere. And then I started taking trucks of aid, driving every Friday, back Monday, from England to Zagreb, and working in the war and on the front line. And I still had 2 legs. So that's why I'm not afraid of anything, because after 4 years working in the war, I came back to talk to the Shadow Defense Secretary, Dr. David Clark, and tell him they have to really do something and push. But because of Iraq, nobody was interested in Yugoslavia. There was no money for the gas and the oil. There was no incentive, just death and devastation. And they didn't care about that. So I went back, and then I came back again, and I crossed a street, and a police motorcycle came, chopped my leg off, crushed my pelvis, punctured my lung, and split my head open. And I was in the hospital. The policeman was speeding, came from behind a bus, 80 miles an hour, and they said she will die, to my best friend who's back there, Ruth. About 4 times he said she will die, go and say goodbye, and every time I would come back like a film. Then I was in the hospital, and they kept chopping my leg off more and more, and I only had a little bit left, and I didn't want to lose my knee, and my girlfriend came in and said, "You have to go vegan." And I went, "Vegan? Vegan schmegan? What the heck's that?" And I was 25 Jahre, I was 25 years old, and I liked bratwurst and schnitzel and käse and sausage and fish and fleisch. I liked all these things, but I wanted to keep my knee. I liked my legs more. So I went with her to Florida, Hippocrates, West Palm Beach, and they put all this disgusting wheatgrass and gemüse and all these things inside everywhere. And after 2 weeks, my leg was closed completely. And I said, "Oh my God, this is unglaublich. It's crazy." And then I went back to England. The newspapers was always following me because I forgot to say I also had a best-selling book, and the money from that went to help clear the landmines. So they were following, how can she walk now? How is her leg good? And so I wrote a small book for the charity, then about plant-based veganism. So I was raw vegan for 2 years. I don't suggest that unless you're seriously ill and you have a really good digestive system, because as we get older, we have low hydrochloric acid, and that's hard to digest, so cook things. But later, I missed meat, I missed fleisch, I missed fish. So I started to make all these products. Everybody said I was crazy. So I started making different things and building them up. But initially, when I started 25 years ago, vegans were the crazy people. They were the people with the big hairy armpits and the Birkenstock feet. And they were white. They looked like they were dying because they had not enough vitamin B12. So I made sure my burgers had protein in them. So you can see I have muscles. I'm standing. Otherwise, I would be on the floor. So yes, you get your protein from vegan. Then I made fish with algal oil, because a lot of people think algal oil comes from omega-3, comes from the fish. But it doesn't. It comes from the algal the fish eat. But we are so stupid because we are duped, like we believed milk was good for us when it's one of the worst things you can put in your body. If you want to get rid of acne, get rid of milk. If you want to reduce to nearly no asthma, get rid of milk. If you want to get rid of most ailments, get rid of cow's milk and alternate onto almond, mandel, hafer, cocos, different milks. So I ended up making this business and everybody laughing, and they found some videos I saw before from 1994 where I go on the television back from Florida and I take a bag of wheatgrass juice, and they look at me like I brought illegal marijuana in the country. And I just want to show them how to grow it. It's really easy to sprout. Tastes disgusting, but it's really good for cleaning your body. So that's how VBites came about, and I built it up. We are now in 25 countries. People are not laughing anymore. I just bought the 4th factory in the UK, and I'm just looking now to work with an upstart from Austria. If anybody has any business ideas, I have a venture company, because what I've found is the biggest problem with small startups is scale up. So I've built more factories where we can incubate anything that's plant-based that we are interested in. Most of the time, the ideas you have, we did it already and we know it. I'm more interested in the people, so what they can do, and if they have the same passion as me, then we can help them scale and distribute around the world. So you can go on to heathermills.org, and there is a place where you can write in if you have any ideas that you want to do. Because I know that the vegan business is going to be the future forever. It's not just a trend, it's not just a phase, it is exactly what we need for health, what we need to do. Even if we don't care about ourselves, we have our children, and it's important we feed them the best, the cleanest, the healthiest food. Thank you very much. I presume that's 20 minutes.